student.
We are in the service file inform that topics.
No, no, no. Uh, okay, yeah, yeah, service. Okay. So how
Yeah,
we create instance of our reactive form instead of in our component, how we create it in the service.
service
Okay,
file. Yeah,
fine. So anyone tried that? Actually, I didn't get the time to. I asked na right. We can create a something stepper like kind of a UI so that the exact implementation what we want we could have seen that.
yes, Chetan, I have created, but I have to implement it in once in using service file. I
No,
have
no, no.
created such
We don't need
tables.
service. We don't need service. I just need that UI. Let's
Yeah,
say,
it's a wide. Yeah,
right? Okay, so let it be. We will complete that tomorrow. So just make sure you complete the UI. Just create
yeah,
four,
yeah,
5 steps and have different forms in have different fields in the different tab. Okay,
yeah. Okay, okay.
fine. So coming back to our project, so we have completed the student registration. So next part is we have to do the batch. Why it is navigating over here? Hmm, layout. Okay, you created menu. Uh, is Supriya there?
Yeah.
Supriya, make sure you explain this dynamic routing also.
Okay.
Once I'm done now, batch, then batch component. After that, where you have put our routes, constant now.
Yes.
Now, where are the
Uh,
routes?
it's in the app.
This menu item.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's in the layout.
Okay, no. So you have to move this into the constant, correct?
Okay, I will do that.
It's kind of a constant data, na? So this we should move
Mm-hmm.
it to the
Hmm.
constant file. Okay, so this is our route. We'll go over here, batch. Let's save and check. Okay, so we are able to navigate. And the UI we discussed for the batch, in which folder it was, this collection. Okay, so this is normal UI. Okay, so if we have to create a new batch, so here you can see first, here we will create the batch. In the same page, we have to show the enrolled student for this batch also. So two things we are going to do. First, we need to complete the batch operation. On click of save batch, we will normally integrate our batch API. Then in the same page, on the click of this, we should be able to enroll student inside this batch. Okay, now see the API properly. Now, just consider this UI, how my API should be. If we see this UI, how my API should be. It should be a single with multiple if we see this UI, because we are creating a single batch and inside that single batch, we have multiple student, correct? Guys,
Yeah.
correct now? Because we have a
Mm-hmm.
single batch. Inside that single batch, we have multiple students getting enrolled into that batch. But right now, I don't have API like that. But still, we need to manage UI like that. So on click of this save, we will create a batch. Okay. Now this same UI we will use on click of open. Batch information will come. And once you add a student batch ID, you will get it from over here. See the API now, because in some case now when we are working in the project, you might get APIs like single with multiple, but in most of the cases you won't get APIs like that also. Okay, so there you might have different APIs also. Means for batch API you have separate API, and for adding enrollment you have separate API, and to get the enrollment also separate API. So in this UI, how many API you will be needing? First API to create batch. Okay, second API, what will be the second API we have to use?
Enroll student.
enroll student, create enrollment, we will say. Third API, what will be the third API? It's a table, na? So we need to show the data of enrollment for this particular batch.
Yes. Yeah.
So get all enrollment. It should be get all enrollment or something else,
By ID.
right? Get all enrollment by which ID?
Batch ID.
Batch ID. Got
Batch
it?
ID.
So see, in one of the session we have seen like requirement analysis. So why you need the API, basic knowledge of API also? Because when we start the sprint, we have a sprint planning. Like what are the tasks we have? Before sprint gets started, we get the UI mock-up. And based on that mock-up, we also need to discuss with the API team, like what are the APIs you are going to need. In some project, na API developer won't develop the API. They will tell you, they will ask you, like tell me like what are the APIs you guys need. So we have to tell them, right? You know the mockup. Consider this scenario also. You know the mockup. What kind of mockup you have. So now you have to inform your API team what kind of API you need. Got it? Let's say in some project API API team has a lead or the manager. So they won't discuss with UI team. They will create the UI. They will create the API based on the UI. But sometimes they discuss also with UI team member, like tell us like what kind of UI you need. Do you need a single with multiple that will be that will be easy for you to manage, or do you need a separate API? So that's why to have a understanding of API, right? That is also very important, because some after days, after some years, ultimately you are going to play a role of UI lead or somewhat, correct? So there at that time you have to discuss these things with the API team also. So having a knowledge of database and the API, at least little bit basic also is very enough, right? Because what happens now, sometimes API developer will tell you, no, this is not possible. But if you have the basic understanding, so you can surely no, obviously it should be possible, correct? So that's why having API knowledge is also important, because based on the API, we have to decide what kind of API structure we might need. Okay. Now, so talking about this, for batch, I think we have different API. Where is institute? Okay. So for batch, we have this separate API, create batch API. So this API we will use to create the batch. Okay. Over here. So let's copy this UI. So we have just created batch component now. Okay. So batch component we will use for creating new batch. Okay. Batch list component I will be creating. So this UI we need. So this is the whole container. Let's copy. And it will go to the batch HTML. Okay. Let's save. So UI is coming, but table is not coming because that was dynamic. It was coming here because of this JavaScript. Okay, let's get this code. Oh, wait, where it is batch. Sorry, I copied something else. This we need. Batch or new batch, sorry. Paste. Okay, so we got the basic UI. Now, in this particular component, we are going to do multiple APIs. So on the page load, and tell me like about the routing. Okay. So this component we are going to use to create the batch and update the batch. So is this route sufficient for that? Is routing correct, or do we need to make some changes?
We need to add parameter.
Right? Because I said this same component I'm going to use on click of edit also. So on click of edit, we are going to pass the ID. Correct? So now we, instead of this normal route, we need the route with parameter. Okay. So slash, let's say batch ID colon. No. How do we create the route? Colon, no, first. Like this, or slash we need it first?
Slash and colon.
Slash and colon. Okay. So now this is a parameterized route. Now we will get an error. If I try to navigate to this route, we will get error like no, route not found.
Slash.
Slash colon, no? Slash. Okay. After slash, we need colon like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, correct. Okay. Now if we log in with admin 1122, login, and if I click on batch, did we added the wildcard route? It's navigating.
Yes.
Okay, so we have the wildcard route, so that's why we get navigating. Otherwise, let's see if I remove this. Okay, I'm removing the wildcard route. See what happens. Now we will get the error. Now understood the benefit of having wildcard route. Why wildcard route creation is also important. Getting it? So if we
Yes.
don't have the wildcard route and if URL is incorrect, so we will have our application in the breaking, right? Our application will break. But if you have the wildcard route, so your URL will move it to that wildcard route and saying that URL is incorrect or not found something. So having wildcard route is also important. So whenever someone asks you wildcard route, so these are the real time scenarios you have to explain. Not just like if route doesn't found, you will it that component will loaded. So this error, runtime application error, we are going to handle by using the wildcard route. Okay. Fine. Fine. So now when we are navigating to this batch route, we have to navigate from layout. What should be our routing now? As our route is with parameter. So in layout, what should we add? So now our routing is coming over here. So we need to pass. What should I pass by default?
0.
Right? By default, 0 we should pass. So slash 0. If it is 0, we will know like we are trying to create the new batch. Okay. Admin login. If I click on batch, see. Okay. And once let's say we have a table and on click of edit, we are navigating. So here we will get the ID, whatever the batch ID is there. Okay. Now, first we will complete this batch form. So we have used reactive form somewhere or no? Okay. In the service we have used, no?
Service file. Yes.
Form builder we have used. Have we used form
Um,
builder?
no, form builder we have not used.
Let's see.
Form group.
So let's see the object what we need to pass. So this is the object. Now we have to create the reactive form. So whenever we create the reactive form, either we can create the reactive form by using form group or we have a service also that is form builder. Okay. So let's try to do that now. So let's say batch form colon form group. We have to create instance of form group only, na? Yes, I think. Let's try. Equal to form group. Okay. Now we have to create instance of our form builder, inject form builder service we need to integrate. Then in constructor, we will initialize or in a function, we will initialize form. This dot form builder. No, this dot batch form is equal to this dot form builder dot. How we create group?
Yes, group.
Because it's been so many days I have not used. Correct, na?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So these are the controls we need. So let's copy. New form control. This is batch ID primary key, so we have to initialize with 0. Let's replace. Colon, 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 colon. Everywhere, remaining things. String we will initialize. Okay. So see, this is you have initialized your form by using form builder service. Okay. Now, when we talk about interview question now, so they will ask you like, what's the difference between if you create a form with form group by using this new, or by instead of using form group, we can use form builder also to initialize the form. So what's the difference? There is no difference. As say performance wise also there is no difference, or syntactical also no difference. See, control same thing, but just instead of using initializing by new form, we are using the form builder service to create that form group. Everything is same, just on a compiler level. Okay. So when we do this, when we create a form like this, and inside this we create the controls, it's a wrapper. This form group is a wrapper of this only form builder. So ultimately you can say your form is going to be created by this service only. So this is more of a compiler code of Angular. So instead of using this form group, you are directly using the boilerplate code. So this word boilerplate code means means internal tools of Angular, kind of internal class or function of Angular we are using. Okay, so ultimately it's going to use this only, but we can if some things for this, so you see we have to unnecessarily inject this service also. But instead of injecting service also, if we use the normal way, we can create the we can initialize the form group also. Correct. So it's on project to project. Again, there is nothing new or something which we can do with the normal form group, or we can do with form builder. Nothing like that. It is both ways are going to do the same. Okay. Clear? Okay. So we have initialized the form group. Now make sure whenever you are, what do we say, creating a form group, always have a separate method to initialize the form. Why? Why we should have a separate method to initialize the form? This is an intro question. Companies who uses reactive form now, because in reactive form we have so many scenarios and so many questions they can ask. Let's say a proper enterprise application is there, banking, insurance, education, a proper admin kind of application where there are so many forms, so many data centered application are there. They will always go for the reactive only. They won't use template form. So you can see so many questions they will ask in arrow based. Now my question is, why we should create a function, and in that function we should initialize the form. This we could have done it over here also. Instead of doing this over here, we could have done that over here also. But why we should create a separate function?
Sir, when we do one operation on the
Hmm.
form, it will catch that data and it will show that data. And when we are trying with another new data, it will overlap with it. So
No,
that's why we need to call the initialize form after one operation is done.
means which operation?
Like whatever the form is doing, for example, submit form.
Hmm.
So after the success of that, we call
Correct.
the
Okay.
initialize form.
So see, Praveen, you told me the correct answer, but in the first time you answered, I didn't get it.
Okay.
See, whenever you are answering now, your answer should be very pretty clear. Because sometimes what happen, let's say, think from my side. I have 3 interviews planned for my day. I have to complete my work also. If you are giving answer like this, now I will think you don't know the answer. I will move to the next question. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So your answer should be very clear, pretty clear. Even if you are, I know that you know the answer. You understood also. Like why do we need? But the way you explain, I was also not able to understand in the first go. Okay. Anyone like to try again? What's the benefit of creating this in a function?
Yeah, I can try.
Mm.
Like when we do the initialization at the batch form directly, then when we load the page loaded, it loads the initial values
Mm.
what we have assigned, and when we do the update, then we can call the function directly, so it will show the updated value from the API.
Correct? See now, if we don't do this, and if we do like this, no guys, form builder.
Chetan, no need of use here like that new form control in group.
This is not
Yes.
needed.
Yes,
Yes.
no need.
We can directly use array.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
can
can
use
directly
array
assign
only.
the value.
Yes.
In array,
Empty we can pass that.
Empty
Yes.
and then validate.
validation, again second array. Like this.
And
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yeah, the validation.
But here it is saying error. Form group only
no
we
need of-
need. Why it is giving error? Okay, use before initialization. Okay. But why this? Okay, so this will also work then, right? This doesn't give any error, so this syntax is also working, I think. Let's try. Same thing only, no? I think this will also work. Okay. So see, coming back to our point. Let's say we we declare the form over here, and here only we initialize. Okay. Now on the page load, your form is properly initialized. Let's say in the same component, you are doing list also and the edit also. So on click of edit, again you need to call this. Let's say on edit round bracket. Again you need to initialize this form over here. Correct? This dot form like this with value, whatever the, let's say here we are getting data. Okay. Just understand the scenario. Okay. Data dot batch ID like this. Correct? Like this, again, we have to initialize the form. Correct now?
Yes.
So now, same thing we have twice. It's a repeated code. Correct now?
Yes.
So that's why we create a function. Or first you understood this, why we should create a function or this repeated thing. Everyone understood this?
Hmm.
Okay. Now tell me what
Yes.
changes I have to make to this function, or this function will work properly. This was my scenario. At the initial level, I will be using this form. On click of edit, I will be using this form. Okay. And again, let's say on save, in subscribe of the save, again, we need to reset this form also. So we can use like this batch form dot reset. Or let's say we want to initialize some field with different value on click of reset. Again, we need to initialize this. Correct? Like this. So here we are doing multiple times same thing. Okay. So what's the solution to this? Solution is this. We have to create a function where we will have the initialization. But what is missing over here? What parameter I will be needing over here?
form value.
Hmm?
Form value.
Right? See. Let me remove this now. Or let it be. Okay. So now, whenever you are working on a proper project, or even if you are learning, or if you are submitting a machine test also, now take care of this thing. Whenever you initialize the reactive form, your function should have this. This is very basic. Then you should have a parameter, data, something, any, whatever your model is there. Now over here, if this function you are calling to for a new form, means in new mode. So what you will do here, you need to add, let's say if we talk about this batch form, so data dot batch ID, if equal to 0, or if not equal to or let's say even simply with data also. If data is there, question mark, means if in data we got the object, then data dot batch ID or else 0. Same thing like over here. Data is there, so then data dot batch name, otherwise empty. Understood? So now your same function will work on the page load also and on click of edit also, because on the page load you won't send the data. Now data you can mark it optional, so that this will be optional parameter. So let's say, where is constructor? This dot initialize form, okay? And on click of edit, batch, let's select this object and I will put it over here. Again, I'm assigning a value to the parameter I get, okay? And here it will be 1 or something. And instead of this, I will call the same function, this dot initialize form, but now I will send the data, okay? To see how it will behave now. Constant form dot value. Okay, so see how it behaves under both the cases, once we do the initialization and once we click on edit. Okay, reactive form module is remaining. Reload. Okay, so see on the constructor, okay, so we call this function on the constructor, so you can see data is undefined. So if you hover this, what will be the output of this? 0, because data is undefined. So if it is not undefined, this piece of code will execute, otherwise 0. So now if we execute, so see in the batch form, control batch ID, what's the value we have? 0. Understood? Now if we continue, okay, now we didn't call edit also, we need to call now. Let's add set timeout. Let's say 8 seconds. Again, on edit function we will call. Let's add optional over here. Okay, so on the first load, constructor directly. After 8 seconds, again this same function will call, but with the data now. Over here. Everyone is clear about the set timeout now? Anyone have any doubt on set timeout? So see, now on click of edit function, we are assigning data. Now we are calling the same function initialize form, but now with the data. Okay, now it will go over here. So now here we have data. Now if you see this temporary, see what's the output? 1, because in data is not undefined, so it will consider this. So now if our form initialize, see will now control will have a proper value, 1, batch name, string value, and date, some date will be there. Okay, date was value. And
Sir, why checking here whether data is there or not?
see now, on the page load, you have created a function which has a parameter. Okay, on the page load, do you have data? On the
Data.
page load, you have to initialize a basic initialize form now with default value, correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
that time you don't have the data. So if on the initialize in the constructor, you can see I'm calling a normal function. I'm not passing any data over here. Okay. So data will be undefined, correct? So I'm just adding a check. Okay. If you are not able to understand, this is what this will does. Here we are checking if data is equal to undefined. Okay, sorry, not undefined. If data is not undefined, we will use data.batch ID. But if data is undefined, it will go to the else block, no? So it will consider 0. So in case of edit, it will go over here. In case of new, it will select this.
But sir, on initialize, it is anyway we need to initialize with the initial values, right? Why we need data is there or
See,
not?
initialize value. Here we are.
we can directly give the 0 only, right? Why data we are
And
checking?
on click of edit, on click of edit, what will happen?
On click of edit,
We need to initialize this form with the value, na? Background voice is coming.
sir,
On click of edit, we need to initialize this form with the value, na? So how, if you don't pass this data.id, how your form will initialize? Again, that's the use now. If you don't have this function, you will do the same thing over here. You will initialize with data.data.property. See, this thing, if you don't have a reusable function, here you will do. Now you don't need this data check. Directly data.id, data.name, like this you will do. Like this you will do, na? But again, it's repeated code, na? So if you have to handle this
sir,
scenario,
explain in UI, sir, so we'll get a idea.
wait, in batch component, what did we did? In batch component, in the same component we have, yeah, let's do that over here, okay? In student component, we will do this. So our wait, in service we have that, okay? So student service, okay? So this was a normal function. Now I have to modify this function, okay? With data colon, what type of data I'm going to get? Student. Fine. Instead of any, I'm passing the data type. So now this function, this is a initialization of form with default value only. But let's say I want to use this, I want to initialize my form with the value on click of edit, right? So here I will write the check if, and here we need to make it optional. So if data is undefined, so if data is undefined means we are calling this function for new case, okay? So we will add 0 value, otherwise data dot stud id we will pass, right? Like this everywhere we need to change the property. Name, email, phone, address, city, pin code. This will be with empty. Okay, so we have created our function like that. Now in student function, when we click on edit, okay, so this is that edit, click function on edit, okay. Now instead of form group into the component, we have the same thing in our service, okay, same thing. Instead of having form over here, your form is in your component, in your service, okay. On click of edit, you will get the data, old student data. This you will catch it over here, student, and now here you will call your function. So this dot service dot initialize form. Now you will pass your data, okay. And on the page load, in once the constructor initialize, this function we are already calling without. Same scenario we have done now. On the constructor, we are initializing the form without the data. Okay, and from the component, once we click on the edit, we are initializing the same function, but with the data now. Okay, so see the difference now. Here also we have added, everywhere we have added the debugger. Let's save and check now. If I go to the student, see, first the student service constructor got executed. Now we are calling initialize form. Okay. So now data is undefined. So what it will consider? 0. Empty value. Okay. So see, once our form initialize in the student form, where is student ID? Stud ID, see the value. What value it got? 0. Means it has considered this. Clear? Continue.
Yes, sir.
Now let's try the edit thing. On click of edit, let's say Pranjali, on click of edit, See, we are calling a component from our function on edit. Here we received the data. Student ID is 100. Okay. Now we are again calling the same function from our source, but we are passing the data. On click of continue. Now you got the data. Now it won't consider 0 because data is not undefined. Na? So it will go over here. And once I continue, see in student form, control, student ID. See, value we got 100. City we got. Understood now?
Okay, basically, we are when click on update, we are populating the data which is
Right.
already there.
So if you don't use this way, there will be two function. Two times you will be initializing the form. One for the basic initialization and one with the data. But that same thing you can do in a single function also, na?
Yes, yes, sir.
Understood now?
Understood.
Everyone? He was
Yes,
only
yes.
asking, but I think this doubt might be with everyone,
Yes, sir. Clear.
right? Wait, I will share meeting again. This is free meeting. Join again.